So to contrast, Donald Trump assuring people it's going to get cooler. Don't worry. The science doesn't know everything. Joe Biden has not signed on to the Green New Deal, but he does have a fairly decent starting point for what his policy is in terms of climate change. And this is the one area, I mean, if I had to guess as to what Joe Biden's going to do and what a Democratic Senate and House would do if they have that, and this is obviously subject to them getting rid of the filibuster, which I think they're going to have to do, hopefully on day one, but maybe hopefully on day one. I think you're going to see a restoration of Voting Rights Act, Section 5. I think you're going to see statehood for D.C. And then I think the first thing they're going to do is I think it's going to be a major climate legislation. And it's a good starting point. I would like to see more, but it's better than it's going to get cooler. Here is Joe Biden talking about climate change on the West Coast at the Delaware Museum of Natural History.
Donald Trump warns that integration is threatening our suburbs. It's ridiculous. But you know what is actually threatening our suburbs? Wildfires are burning the suburbs in the West. Floods are wiping out suburban neighborhoods in the Midwest. Hurricanes are imperiling suburban life along our coast. If we have 4 more years of Trump's climate denial, how many suburbs will be burned in wildfires? How many suburban neighborhoods will have been flooded out? How many suburbs will have been blown away in superstorms? If you give a climate arsonist 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised if we have more America ablaze? If you give a climate denier 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised when more of America is underwater? We need a president who respects science, who understands that the damage from climate change is already here. And unless we take urgent action, it will soon be more catastrophic.
I mean, his proposal, like I say, is fairly robust. It's not near where the Green New Deal is. But there is at least some encouragement. I mean, look, it's marginally better. There is going to be more massive wildfires. There is going to be more massive hurricanes. We're going to lose all those things he was talking about. We're going to lose. That is already baked into the cake. The cake is already baked on that. The question is, can we mitigate the damage that's going to happen 10 years from now if we start next year? Can we mitigate some of the damage that's going to happen 30 years from now if we start next year? And it's going to get progressively worse over the course of those 30 years. I mean, much of this is already written, our future. It's just going to be how sort of ultimately, how catastrophic will it be is really the question at this point.
Yeah, the future climate response isn't going to be driven by the individuals in power like Biden or Trump. It's going to be by events like these massive things. And then the extent to the response and the reaction is going to be the coalition behind them. And you want the Democrat in there besides the Republican. This is, again, simple.
Exactly. And it's really going to be a question of like, how strong will the opposition to the demands be? That's it. Right? I mean, Donald Trump, he is going the absolute opposite direction that we should be going in. The absolute opposite direction. The question is like, how much of a fight can Joe Biden put up if there is will from many people in his quarters? And that's just the bottom line. I mean, but make no mistake about it. This is, I know the ultimate irony is that I was just reading up on, obviously in Wisconsin, the Green Party didn't get on there. Clinton lost Wisconsin by 20,000 votes. Jill Stein got something like, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 votes there. I don't know if any of those votes, if she wasn't on the ballot, if any of them would have went to Clinton. Who knows? I can tell you that Al Gore lost Florida by less than 600 votes, if I remember correctly. And Ralph Nader won, I think, about 80 or 90,000 votes in Florida. I'm not sure. I think off the top of my head. Al Gore, pretty strong on climate change. Maybe not in terms of you seeing it as, his response may have been a little more narrowly tailored. But 20 years, what would you pay now? Yeah. I mean, pay in terms of like willing to give up in terms of aspirations for fundamentally restructuring our economy, to be able to go back 20 years from now and say, I want a president who is going to begin to diminish the power of fossil fuels by, inhibiting their value in the marketplace. Right? Or will encourage, I don't know, through neoliberal mechanisms, making solar power and, giving solar power a 10-year head start relative to the Obama administration.
Yeah. Like with Al Gore would have just done all the sort of market reforms for climate change that Obama was able to like low-hanging fruit do when he got into office. And if Gore could have done that earlier, then Obama would have had to go farther than that.
Right. I mean, the idea is that you either you diminish the power of these institutions, and then they have less power. Right. I mean, like you undermine them. You soften them up for the fight. So here's Stuart Varney. I mean, I can't even believe this guy can function anymore. Talk about Joe Biden. I mean, here's Stuart Varney in a very, very brittle glass house, reading from a teleprompter, talking about Joe Biden reading from a teleprompter.
Who writes Joe Biden's scripts? He's almost always reading from a teleprompter. So who writes what he reads? This is important because we want a president who is in control of his own campaign and his own policies. Nobody puts words in President Trump's mouth, certainly not. But Joe...
Pause it for 1 second.
Figure.
How do they... Like, how stupid are the people who are watching this? Does Stuart Varney think they are? Donald Trump, he reads his teleprompter and then he stops and he goes like, can you believe that? Like he indicates almost every speech, like, this is almost the first time I've ever seen this. I didn't know it was 200 million. 200 million. That seems like a lot, doesn't it, everybody? You can't, like, it's not only that Donald Trump read from his teleprompter, it's almost like he invites everybody, come in, take a look at what I'm reading here. This is unbelievable. But go ahead.
We want a president who is in control of his own campaign and his own policies. Nobody puts words in President Trump's mouth, certainly not. But Joe, he seems like a figurehead, controlled from behind the scenes. Case in point, Biden's weekend silence. As the president barnstormed through the West, Joe stayed home, saying very little. Democrats got worried. Bernie Sanders urged him to get out and make a left turn. And on Monday, he did. He called the president a climate arsonist. Strong stuff, and right in line with Bernie's Green New Deal extremism. The suspicion is that Bernie and AOC fed the climate arsonist line into his teleprompter, and Joe dutifully came out of his house and read the script. This is something Biden voters should worry about. The Democrats have put him forward as the smiling, moderate face of the party, but behind the scenes lurks Bernie, the squad, and next in line, Kamala Harris. This is the woke crowd, and they are the power in the party.
Yeah, like, oh, Alexandria, I just got a new plan of how we can do socialism in this country, and don't ask me where I got it from. Okay, I'll tell you, it's from the movie Anchorman, where they put "Go fuck yourself, San Diego" in the teleprompter, and he just says it. And I think if we can get access to Joe's teleprompter, we can see a lot of movement on our policy sense.
So Kamala Harris gave me instructions to give to you to read into Joe Biden's ear when he gives the climate speech. So this is what Kamala has told me to tell you to tell Biden to do.
Oh my God. I'm worried as a Biden voter. I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned. First of all, I think it's a waste of Bernie Sanders' time to be typing out stuff in a teleprompter.
He loves doing media, though. So
he loves
scripting stuff out.
That is the one thing about Bernie Sanders that people don't talk about. The guy starting like literally like 30 years ago, he was obsessed with cue cards. He would just, for random people, random politicians, Bernie Sanders was always like, let me do the cue cards. Let me do the cue cards. And then he developed it into just typing out the teleprompter.
You think I stay on message just because of my brain? No, I invented a machine that keeps you on message.
It's just like, how does Stuart Varney, how does any of them, they go out there and they just sort of like, Donald Trump is the most teleprompter based, and they did this with Obama. He's reading from a teleprompter. That was a huge scandal, rivaled almost the tan suit. And they were on this. He's on a teleprompter. Donald Trump is the most teleprompter based politician. It's the least seamless on some level. I mean, on some level, he's like basically admitting he's reading from a teleprompter, because that's what he's like, look, will you look at this? He's
2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. Oh, did I write this?
2 Corinthians, the Bible, Corinthians. As Corinthians said, it is Semites.
Yeah. Hey, Stephen, how do you spell Corinthians?
I had to type this in, Semites.